to read an ingredient list. This is a topic that I see posted about all the time lately, and it's a question that I get from all of you. I have some feelings about how you read an ingredient list and the purpose of an ingredient list, so today I'm going to share that with you. Alright, so let's just get right into this. There is one main reason why you want to read an ingredient list, and that is to identify an ingredient or ingredients. And that can be for several reasons. You can be allergic to an ingredient, you can be sensitive to an ingredient, or you could just want to avoid an ingredient because maybe you have too much of it or you don't like the way it feels on your skin. There are lots of reasons why you want to avoid an ingredient, and that would be the main reason to pick up a bottle, turn it around and be like, oh, here on the ingredient list, it says it has this ingredient, so I'm not gonna actually purchase this. And that's the main function of an ingredient list. The only other reason to look at it is to go down the list and identify an ingredient that you might actually be looking for to purchase it. So maybe, for instance, you're looking for niacinamide in your lotion, but the lotion isn't actually called a niacinamide lotion. You could then pick up the bottle, turn it around, look at the ingredient list, and see if it has niacinamide in it. So it's either you're looking to avoid an ingredient or you're looking to confirm there is an ingredient in this product. And that is the main function of an ingredient list for a consumer. The reason why I wanted to do this video is because I see way too many Instagram posts and YouTube videos and blog posts that say this is how you're supposed to read an ingredient list, and it puts a lot of stock into the ingredient list. And people review products based on the ingredient list without actually trying the products and seeing what they're all about. And that's not a good way to look at a product because it only tells one part of the story. This whole topic became really apparent to me when Fenty Skin launched. There were so many divided opinions, and I saw a lot of you talking about the experiences you saw, or like the thoughts that you got from content creators when they were reviewing Fenty's skin. I got comments where people were like, oh, I don't trust you because you didn't trash Fenty's skin because it has these crap ingredients. And to me, that was really telling about our industry and where it's gone. I think people are forgetting that the effectiveness of a product and the way that a consumer experiences the product and the way that it makes them feel is also very important, and you don't know that much by looking at the ingredient list. The way to think of it is more like a recipe for, say, banana bread. So using the banana bread analogy for a skincare product, if you look at the ingredient list, you can gather all those ingredients, but already those ingredients could be different than the ingredients that I get because there's different brands of those ingredients, the freshness of your ingredients. There are a lot of different factors that already go into just the ingredients that you gather. With banana bread specifically, you have to use really, really ripe bananas that are super sweet and super mushy, or the banana bread recipe won't turn out okay. And then there are other factors in just the way that you prepare the recipe. You have to have like the right temperature butter, for instance. If you get butter that's a little too cold, it won't mix right. If you have butter that's a little too hot, it won't mix right. And then there's also, you've heard with baking, you have to combine all of the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients separately and then add them together. This is the same kind of process that goes into formulating a skincare product. You can have a recipe where it's just mixing all of the ingredients together and it's that easy, or it could be a recipe where you have to separate the wet ingredients, you have to separate the dry ingredients, you have to add them in slowly at a specific temperature and then let them cool down at a specific temperature. There are a lot of factors that go into the formula just like that. And even what you do to the banana bread afterwards, you could leave it in the oven just a touch too long and it doesn't come out right. So there are also preferences that come into play when it comes to a product. And that's why it's not fair to look at the ingredient list and then judge the product without trying it. I actually saw a really great Instagram post from Annalisa, who is known as Skin Perspective on Instagram. She is a cosmetic formulator. I mean, she's got her own skincare brand and she really puts a lot of love and attention into the products that she's creating. She had this amazing post about why the ingredient list doesn't tell the whole story, and I wanted to share some of her points. First, she talked about how an ingredient list doesn't tell you how the ingredients work synergistically. So just like I was saying with the banana bread recipe, if you put things together the wrong way, they might not work well together. And there's a whole process in how you're supposed to combine those ingredients. And sometimes ingredients work really well together and sometimes not as much.
An ingredient might be inserted at lower concentration because its penetration has been enhanced by another ingredient, or irritation may be minimized by pairing an ingredient with others. For example, let's take sodium lauryl sulfate. SLS is an anionic surfactant and it can disrupt the barrier of the skin and be irritating, but when it's well formulated and it's paired with other types of surfactants, the whole formulation becomes mild.
Her second point was that high concentrations of an ingredient does not equal effectiveness, and this one's really important. I see a lot of people get very hung up on the concentration or the percentage of an active ingredient in their product, and sometimes they're not thinking about other things, stability of that ingredient, and this is very specifically to ingredients like L-ascorbic acid. You can have 15% L-ascorbic acid in a product, but if it's not done well and if it's not a stable product, then that 15% doesn't matter anyway because it's not stable. But you can have a different product that has L-ascorbic acid at a much lower percentage, and because it's formulated better and it's more stable, you actually get better results from that L-ascorbic acid. And also, some people can't tolerate the higher percentages of active ingredients, so then it becomes a moot point because you can't use the product anyway, so you of course don't get any results. You just get irritated skin. So it's not really important to look at the concentrations or the percentages of active ingredients. It's more important to look at how this product works as a whole and what they've done to stabilize the ingredients, to ensure effectiveness, to look at some of the technology like encapsulation that helps keep the ingredients stable, or even things like how the products absorb into your skin. You can have an exfoliating product, but if it doesn't have the right pH, it might not exfoliate your skin. If it doesn't absorb into your skin because it doesn't have the right ingredients to help it absorb, it might not work for your skin. And another point that she made was that you should not get stuck on the first 5 ingredients being the main part of the formulation because it truly doesn't tell us anything about the formulation. You can have 2 different products that have a lot of the same ingredients, and one of those products have those ingredients in the top 5, and the other product has those same ingredients listed somewhere else throughout the ingredient list. What you don't know is how much of each of those ingredients the product actually has. The other product might have a higher percentage of all of those active ingredients, even though it doesn't seem to look like it, than the product that has them in the first 5 ingredients. Yes, it does tell you that these are higher up, but at the same time, if you don't know the exact percentages, you don't really know how much is in any of the products. Her third point, this is one of my favorite ones, and this is kind of what I was saying about, like different brands of ingredients for your banana bread. Her third point is the Inky name doesn't actually tell you much about the ingredients. And this is true. There are so many raw material suppliers in the world. Like squalane doesn't come from just one supplier. Niacinamide doesn't come from just one supplier. Vitamin C doesn't come from just one supplier. They come from lots of different places. Just like you can buy different brands of spices, you can buy different brands of ingredients for your skincare products. And some of those skincare ingredients can be superior to other brands out there, I guess. Brands being the word. If you get a really nice ingredient, it can be standardized to always give you the same exact results and perform the way they say it's going to perform, whereas you can get that same ingredient from a whole different supplier who doesn't have that kind of a guarantee, but they sell it for cheaper and it still says it's the same ingredient.
The Inky name also doesn't tell much about the ingredient itself, and that's why when formulators write formulations, they refer to ingredients by trade name and not by Inky name. Ingredients can vary a lot among suppliers, the same ingredient. So, for example, if I buy a willow bark extract from one supplier, that ingredient may be standardized to guarantee a content of 10% salicylic acid, while if I buy it from another supplier, it might have the same Inky name, but it has different properties.
Another point that she makes is that identifying ingredients at the 1% mark doesn't really tell you that much, because one of the more common ways that people identify this 1% line in the ingredient list is they look for the ingredient phenoxyethanol. And phenoxyethanol is a really popular preservative used in skincare products these days. We've talked about this. Preservatives are necessary for your skincare products because you don't want them to grow microorganisms or bacteria that can harm your skin. So you need the preservatives, but you cannot have more than 1% phenoxyethanol in any of your products.
Ingredients below 1% by law can be listed randomly, so the ingredient list may not reflect the actual ingredient concentration below the 1%. So look at these two products. We may think that product B is better because ingredients like retinol and green tea extract are higher in the list, but they are exactly the same product, just two different ingredient lists. You may think, okay, well, but I learned to find the 1% line, so I know more or less the concentration of ingredients. Actually, identifying the 1% line or some ingredients that have known concentrations like the phenoxyethanol, for example, doesn't really tell us the concentration of ingredients that come before or after that ingredient. Let me show you. Product C and product D have exactly the same ingredient lists, except that the products are really different. The first product has niacinamide at 5%, panthenol at 2%, while the second product has niacinamide at 0.5% and panthenol at 0.1%, just to make an example.
She also had some other really good points. The ingredient list won't tell you the source of the ingredients, which we kind of touched on a second ago. It won't tell you the sustainability of an ingredient. To use squalane oil as the example again, you can get squalane that is from a brand that's very mindful. They try to be very sustainable and cruelty-free or keep the environment in mind when they're harvesting this squalane oil. And then you can get it from another brand that doesn't care. So you don't see that stuff from an ingredient list. It's really up to the brand to tell you that kind of stuff. And then another really great point that she makes is that the ingredient list does not tell you how a product will feel on your skin. And that, to me, is one of the most important things when it comes to a skincare product. I want it to feel like an experience. I want it to feel luxurious. Even if it's an affordable product, I want it to feel like it is not just effective, but it feels nice on my skin. I feel like I want to continue putting this on my skin because it feels hydrating, it feels soft, it feels like I'm putting on a veil of some kind of cloud on my face. I want those types of experiences when I'm using my skincare products. I don't want it to pill, I don't want it to dry me out, I don't want it to dry very sticky. I want it to feel very, very nice, but you can't tell that from an ingredient list. You have to try the product.
Lists also don't tell us a very important factor, which is the skin feel and how we would like a certain product, which ultimately makes a difference on whether we will use that product or not.
And you know, a good example of not really knowing the characteristics of an ingredient is the ingredient witch hazel. I have seen so many people talking about witch hazel lately, and you know, I'm not going to say that witch hazel is one of my favorite ingredients, but witch hazel can have different characteristics depending on the ingredient that a brand is using. So the reason why a lot of people don't like witch hazel is because it can be distilled with ethanol, which is a drying alcohol, and people associate that with skin irritation and sensitivity and maybe even drying out your skin. So then it feels like it's a really bad ingredient to have in your skincare products. But a lot of people don't realize that sometimes witch hazel can be distilled in a whole variety of ways that won't include ethanol. So you can even have witch hazel that's steam distilled, so it doesn't have the same kind of characteristics as witch hazel that is distilled with ethanol. It's not as drying, it won't be sensitizing, or at least not as much. And also, it might just be a little bit of witch hazel that feels just refreshing to the skin. And so it's not going to be this huge amount that can actually dry your skin out. Also, speaking of alcohol though, that was even one that I had to get over, was seeing alcohol on an ingredient list and being like, I can't use that product. I actually have a video that I did with Michelle of Lab Muffin, and she really broke down the purpose of alcohol in a list of products that I gave her, and it made so much sense why brands would choose to use this. You can't look at an ingredient list and see one ingredient that you don't like unless you just know that you're sensitive or allergic to it, and then decide that this product isn't going to work. You have to know, just like Annalisa said, how it works synergistically. There can be ingredients that will hydrate and soothe your skin, and so you don't have to worry about one ingredient like alcohol being irritating or drying to the skin. Another really great point that Annalisa makes is that ingredient lists do not tell you the price of the product. Again, going back to the banana bread analogy, you can have really fancy ingredients that you spent a lot of money on that makes the banana bread then cost a lot more, whereas the banana bread with the cheaper ingredients might taste the same, but because the ingredients were cheaper, it might cost less to make it. Or maybe the cheaper ingredients weren't as nice and it doesn't taste as good as the more expensive bread too. You can't really know until you actually try it. Another thing that I see is that people find dupes, or what they call dupes, for specific products by looking just at the ingredient list and not actually trying the products. That's not the way to find a dupe. You have to try the products. You've seen me do a couple of videos like the Kylie sunscreen video recently, or even the La Mer versus the Nivea video. I purchased those products and compared them before I actually put out there that they can be very similar. They had similar ingredient decks, but that didn't guarantee that they were going to feel exactly the same. So you have to feel a product. Formulation matters. I'm obviously not the first person to say that, but I think that we're really getting carried away with looking at an ingredient list and trying to decide if a product is really good or effective or worth it to purchase just by looking at this list. There are so many other reasons to buy a product, and it starts with maybe looking at the ingredient list, but it doesn't end with that. You know, I'll give you guys an example. When I am creating a skincare product for my skincare line Naturium, the way the process kind of goes is I might say something like, oh, we need a lotion in our skincare line. So what are the ingredients that we want to have in our lotion? And then I can list off a bunch of ingredients. That doesn't mean that those ingredients are going to work well and create the most perfect lotion just because I said it. You can't just pick out the ingredients and think, that's it, that's gonna work. It takes a long time to create a product because you have to go through different iterations, try different ingredients together, sometimes ingredients from lots of different suppliers, in this case, like the banana bread, different brands, and then you have to figure out the process to actually make it. So the chemist that's creating these products is almost like a chef. There are lots of different factors that are going on in this process, and you have to keep trying these different formulations. So we'll throw out all these different ingredients to our chemist and say, we want the product to have these ingredients in it, but we want it to feel like this. So the chemist in the first go might put all those ingredients together and add in a couple of things that your product needs to be able to use those ingredients. And then when you try it, it might feel terrible. It might not do what you want it to do. It might not be as effective. It might just not be what you were thinking. And I can tell you, I have never had a product come back on the first go and been like, this is it. This works perfectly. You have to keep trying and trying and trying. So that's the reason why I really think that the conversation about how to read an ingredient list should pretty much stop. It's important to read the ingredient list. You should know what ingredients are in your product. Should you judge a product by just the ingredient list? No. I realize the skincare community online has become very science-driven and you want facts and everything. So if you feel committed to that, then it's really important to understand that an ingredient list only tells you this much of the story.
If you want to buy a book, you read the synopsis to know what the book is about, but you will not know how good the book is until you read it. So to know if a book is good, you need to read it. And to know if a cosmetic is good and works for you, you need to try it.
So those are my thoughts on how to read an ingredient list. You can find me on Instagram, I'm at Susan Yara. I'll also leave a link below to Annalisa's Skin Perspectives Instagram account as well. She has wonderful information about skincare products and what you should be looking for. And if you have any other questions, you can ask them in the comments below. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.